welcome to Gencan't, the unconvention for those who can't make Gen Con. Thank you guys for being here. I was really disappointed I couldn't make Gen Con this year, hence I decided to do a little something with some of my friends who also couldn't make it, for some of my other friends who couldn't make it. So, welcome. Tonight with me we have currently 3 guests. We've got R.L. King, nicknamed Rat. Rat, do you want to introduce yourself? Tell us what you've worked on and a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. Sure. Hi. Yeah, I'm Rat. I've been doing freelance stuff for Shadowrun since 2001, mostly like SR3 and SR4. A little bit of stuff for SR5. I wrote the novel Borrowed Time and the novellas Wolf and Buffalo and Big Dreams.
And some fantastic stuff. You also do some non-Shadowrun writing, yes?
I do. I have an urban fantasy series called the Alistair Stone Chronicles, which is currently up to 14 books. Been doing that for a couple years now, and that's kind of my major focus at this point.
Yeah, you crank those out about, 3 or 4 a year at this point?
Yeah, one about every 3 months. I try to stay ahead of my schedule a little bit, so.
Really, really good series. If you'd like, go ahead and type in post an address up where folks could find your books if they want to check them out. I've read a few of them. They're really, really good. If you're a fan of Dresden Files or even Doctor Who, because there's a little Doctor Who to some of the characters. I wonder why.
Can't imagine.
I keep trying to look for them and buy them, but I can't find Rats anywhere on the in the store computers.
All right, Scott, would you like to introduce yourself? Or is Scott not here anymore?
He's muted.
He's muted. He was chewing, so maybe he was still eating. So we'll come back to Scott. Canray.
Yes, I'm Raymond Corrado, also known as Canray. I used to be the forum dweller on various different forums. I've been doing this a little over 5 years now. Various freelance stuff for Shadowrun, mostly short stories.
You got yourself started doing a mission, didn't you?
No, I didn't. I got my start doing safe houses.
Oh, that's right.
And I got known as the lifestyle person because of that. And I'm never going to live that down or the sheep down.
or the toaster fiction / fic.
Yeah. No, it's not slash because it isn't gay. It is just shipping fiction.
Okay.
And really, really badly shipping fiction.
Well, you know. Yeah, you've done some great stuff. Your most current thing was you just did a bunch of work in Street Lethal, didn't you?
Yes, I did. I did the crime stuff in Street Lethal.
Yeah, you're kind of the crime guy these days.
I am. I got a chance to flesh out the company, give them a bit of a background as to what they're doing, and I'm now the crime expert.
I'm not sure I'd say that too loudly. The government agents may be listening in on you.
It's crime with a K.
I'm not sure that makes it any better. Scott, are you with us?
I am. I've stopped chewing.
Okay, that's all right. We're interrupting your dinner time a little bit. It's cool.
No, I just fit in dinner between work and this, and then a date later on.
Oh, somebody's got a real life, I see.
Married, wife, kid, real life.
Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Scott. First book I got to work on was Street Legends. I took a couple people from some of the older novels and gave them a little fourth ed life. And from that point until now, you can blame me for little over a million words in Starbucks. Sorry, I work at Starbucks. My bad. In Shadowrun at this point. Sorry, I just got out of work. My brain's got to shift gears.
How much writing have you done at Starbucks? Because it may be a million words in a Starbucks.
I've done it. Well, actually, I've done a lot of writing on all my various jobs. While I was a para for a high school here, I took kids out in the community, and they'd work in like Jewel and Walgreens, and I'd just have to monitor them, and I would sit there with my iPad resting on a cart and just work while I was watching them.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
What's the most recent thing you've worked on?
No Future.
Okay.
That was less work I was working on, but that's not out yet.
Yeah, that's not out. We'll mention that here in a little bit. I've gotten the go-ahead from Jason to talk about a couple of upcoming books.
Yeah,
So
anything we got specs for, we can usually talk about.
yeah, I just wanted to double check and make and clear it because you know how, unfortunately, you know how Catalyst's marketing tends to be. It's a little spotty as to what's announced and where. Sadly. So.
Oh yeah. Let's see. Kill Code has
Oh, nice.
pretty much every book for SR5 has my name in it. So
Excellent.
I've contributed much to it. Hence the reason I've ended up over 1 million words in.
And Kill Code has made an appearance at Gencan't and will hopefully be in PDF within the next week or two available if the pattern from Gencan't from Origins holds with Street Lethal. So we'll be hopefully seeing that shortly. That should be fun, and hopefully that'll quell all of the "Where's my Technomancer" book guys.
Yeah,
I hope
there's quite a bit of Technomancers in there. I didn't work on any of it, so don't ask me any questions.
And in case anybody here doesn't know me, I'm Steven Ratkovich, also known as Bull. And I haven't actually done much lately because I've been slacking. I've been working on Shadowrun since, off and on, in some capacity since 2nd edition at FASA. And my biggest contributions was probably to the Missions Living campaign, as I was missions director or missions developer through end of season 3, all of season 4, and about half of season 5.
You are also the greatest orc decker we've never met.
This is true too, although in my defense, I did not put him in Shadowrun. That was Mike Mulvihill back in 2nd edition. I won a contest.
That's how I got into
Bull has
this.
bought a deck.
I won a contest.
He's bought one deck, and he's been upgrading it ever since.
Yep. All right, real quick, I'm going to cover a couple of the questions we've gotten so far. Brat Ebauer had asked SR3 which books, if they may ask.
To remember that far back.
I know how that
I have
goes.
trouble remembering last week lately.
I'm not even sure.
let's
I'm not
see.
even sure what I did this morning.
Let's see. I worked on Dragons of the Sixth World. That was 3rd edition, right?
Yeah, because you did Damien.
Damon and
Damon.
I did did I do Ronabui? I can't remember. I did the Sea Dragon.
Okay.
I like
cool.
Damon. He's definitely a good dragon.
I've always liked. Scott has actually kind of taken over Damon from me and done wonderful things with him, so I kind of don't really feel like he's mine anymore. But that's cool. I love that other people like him and are keeping him alive.
That is one of the greatest feelings, is when you can put something into the game and then you see another author take it and run with it.
Love the stuff he's done with Damon. So
It's actually
I
funny,
had someone
both
try to
Damon
hack
and
Damon's Matrix site and get denied hard by ICE.
nice. Let's see. I'm trying to think of the other stuff I've worked on in 3rd edition. God, Mr. Johnson's Little Black Book, was that 3rd edition?
Yes, it was.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, I worked on that one, and I can't reach my Shadowrun shelf from where I'm sitting right now. So. Let's see. Oh, I wrote On the Run, which was a single shot adventure.
I know it was a good one.
Fun with that one.
Yeah, I know. My first real thing I worked on was Year of the Comet. I had done a little bit prior to that, and I was convention I ran the convention stuff, but Year of the Comet was the first one, and then Dragon's Six World and Mr. Johnson's Little Black Book were the ones I worked on early on as well. Those were fun books to work on. And Rat, did you also do that braided fiction we did for WizKids for the toy line?
On Duels, I did Liana for that.
Okay.
I remember you did G-Dog, right?
Yeah, I did G-Dog and Silver Max.
Okay.
I need to.
I really wish they had made them small enough that they could have been used with other hero clicks.
If you know what I wanted? If they were going to make them as toys, G.I. Joe scale.
Yeah.
Actually, that's one of the biggest reasons why I've been slowly commissioning Cat Hardy to do G.I. Joe scale Shadowrun figures for me. Is because eventually I'm going to do a miniatures game. Once I have enough toys.
We have one of the old G.I. Joe scale action figures in my gaming room, and we've pretty much stated that he's one of the canon characters that's been around since late 4th edition and playtesting 5th edition.
Which character is that?
I haven't introduced him into the universe, but I am planning on doing so. He is a Las Vegas shaman.
Oh,
named
nice.
Crazy Talk.
I've heard you mention Crazy Talk.
Yes. And him and the player has just kept us in stitches for many, many years, and various things have gone on. He's caused things like us saying, we rode into battle on the head of a snake and won.
Nice. All right. Qatar asked, have any of you guys worked on the Advanced Matrix book? Scott, I think you answered that. That you had. What did you do for it? If you want to talk about it, since it's out now.
That's super funny because that would require me to remember the things I actually write, which I don't.
Despite the fact that the book is just coming out, you worked on that, probably 9 months ago, a year ago at this point?
Yeah, pretty much. I designed a bunch of new gear and programs and little toys to give the Matrix, make it a little more accessible to meet folks. I did writing for some of the new E-Critters and Techno Critters.
Gotta love the Techno Critters.
Mm-hmm. Made bullets that you can hunt Techno Critters with.
Nice.
If you're gonna make one, you gotta make the other.
I did playtesting for Kill Code. I may or may not be in the credits, though.
I have not actually looked at it yet. Because I am a slacker and it has not been made available to the general freelancer pool yet. So I haven't seen it. I'm hoping it's got some good stuff.
Should.
Because obviously I'm always a big fan of anything we do with the Matrix. Except for Technomancers. Hate them. I'm kidding, folks. I know that makes people cry every time I say that.
Alright, so rundown for Kill Code's chapters. You got a little Matrix 101. After that, get into a few new Matrix rules. Chips and dips, which is a bunch of gear. Positive and negative qualities. Some life modules. Oh, data streams and parallel processing. And a bunch of techno stuff. Oh my god, there's the word sprites and a big section on that. Virtual sprites. Tribes, paragons, infinite realms. Oh yeah, it talks about a bunch of the other little realms. And then I wrote the stuff for the null sign and the null sect. Forgot about that. Or no, I took the stuff from there and wrote it in another book. I don't remember what I did. Xenosapiens, Metasapiens, Technosapiens. That wraps it up. If anybody wants like an elephant that can get in the Matrix.
I do.
Yeah, you can
Doesn't
find
everybody?
them in there.
But then again, I've had my crew do things like extract a bear from a zoo once.
Yeah, Yogi's in there. Yogi is the bear. Yeah, exactly. Yogi is the bear that is the bear techno critter.
Nice.
He likes picnic baskets. Potato full of picnic biscuits.
And he always falls for the honey traps.
Make it go honey pot. He loses.
Lyriel was asking if there was how the process works a little bit for writing something when there's multiple projects. Is there somebody overseeing it, or or is it just kind of anything goes? And, well, I know the answer to this, but let's go ahead and let you guys answer it.
It really varies from book to book. Sometimes it's really hands-on, and we have to keep within certain things, and other times it's just bleh. Go nuts. So it really depends on what is being worked on.
Yeah, there's a hair of chaos in the process.
Yeah, Aaron, try. Sorry, give me just a second. Aaron, go ahead and try talking. See if it's because it's showing that your mic is muted. So I don't know if it's because you have push to talk or what. Because I know I have it set so that only the panel guests or admin can talk. But I think you need to leave and rejoin for that setting to take effect.
He's showing up under panel guests.
I just switched him over, but I think he needs to leave the actual voice chat and then rejoin. Okay. Well, you should be set if you want to try talking here in a little bit. I've got a couple questions. All right. Tecumseh asks, when you write Shadowrun fiction, do you try to base any of the action on the game rules, or do you write independently of game mechanics?
Can I answer that one?
Yep.
Sorry. Shut up.
Go for it.
Yes. No. Maybe.
So, yeah. I know on my end, story comes first, but I try to make sure that the story fits the rules, at least for the most part. Writer fiat, I will tweak things as needed. But it also helps that, to a large degree, Shadowrun rules allow for a good amount of variability.
It is a very cinematic system.
I generally check the rules once I get done writing the book to make sure that I didn't do anything that completely went counter to what it's supposed to do, like, have people time traveling and teleporting and that sort of thing. But aside from that, I don't really pay that much attention to the nitty-gritty rules.
Congratulations, Rat. You've done more work than the Shadowrun Xbox game team did.
All right. Second question, and then I'm going to go talk to Aaron here for a second. Try to help get him sorted because he's having mic issues as well. It sounds like. Second question: when you write Shadowrun fiction, how do you handle the game's vast lore? How do you keep track of the Six Worlds timeline and canon events, especially when they're spread out across so many publications?
Ask James.
Answer.
That's my favorite method.
My answer for my latest novel, which is the one that isn't out yet, is Ask Scott. Because it talks about...
That's another option.
It's focused on lockdown, so it was like, Scott, can I do this?
Yeah. Does this work?
That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
I actually had a job where I worked maybe 45 minutes to an hour a day doing temp work, and I spent the rest of the time reading Shadowrun books on PDF. So that's how I was able to do things.
Yeah. A whole lot of word search. Search for one word and just find it in every book.
I actually have another answer to that question too, which is most of my stuff I try to kind of focus in on more of a small corner of the world, so I don't write like big world arching stories because I frankly hate research. And so I would much rather write something that's a little smaller that I can kind of keep control over better than trying to keep track of all that research.
Yeah, for me,
writing for the street is a lot easier than writing for the corporations.
Yes.
Yeah,
I know on my end it's a combination of like when I would work on a mission, like when I was working on missions, a lot of times I did a lot of research so that I would have sometimes I would have several PDFs open. I would have a stack of physical books set up next to me. Because I'm weird I've got a weird tactile sense. So I will remember something. I will remember where something is based on, like, I remember there was a picture and it was like 6 pages past that. And it's weird that I do that, but so I'll vaguely remember it was in this book and it was near this picture, so I'll flip through and find that and kind of just skim the pages then. I would have, like, Google Maps open so that I would make sure my locations matched up right. And it was crazy. I would spend more time looking stuff up than I would writing half the time. Because it was important to me to make sure that I got all my lore and facts right. Because I know that you mess up anything, you'll get called on it.
Very much so.
Okay. All right. Let's see if we've got any other questions here that I've missed. I apologize. We're getting a lot of scroll, so if I miss your question, feel free to ask again. If we miss it and we haven't gotten to it for a while. All right. Kier Jorso asks, I know there was a contest on the Facebook's missions page. Hello.
Hello.
Hello?
We can hear each other.
Yep.
Okay, somebody... Okay. Anyways, Kirjoso is asking, there was a contest on the Facebook missions group recently, but other than that, how does one get into a gig like this? Writing. My answer would be A, be very willing to do a lot of work for very, very little money. That is first and foremost. Other than that, your best bet is usually to submit something to Jason Hardy. Basically submit a writing sample or at least contact him through, like, email and express interest in writing. And then go through him. And Aaron, I can hear you.
Hey everyone.
Hello, Aaron.
We're talking about how to do some writing.
Yes. Yeah, somebody was asking how do you get into it.
To have a exemplar of your work. You might be asked for a treatment, like write a paragraph on this, or write a rule for this, or something like that. So be prepared to do that. Although, also I want to just emphasize what Bull just said. I had a dream once to be a full-time game designer. I became a teacher, and now I've been a teacher so long, it would be a pay cut to be a game designer. Something to think about.
I basically tells you how poorly game designers are paid.
I'm an Amish taxi driver, which is basically Uber for the Amish community that I live near. And if I quit that to become a writer full time, it would be a pay cut for me as well. So yeah, unfortunately, game design and game writing is not the most lucrative thing, but it's also a lot of fun. Of all of us, I think Rat is the closest to. I mean, she's a full-time writer now, so she'd be able to speak. No, but not a game writer. But you'd at least be able to speak to the full-time writer aspect of it.
Yeah, although I do self-publishing, so that's where most of my income comes from. As far as the Shadowrun fiction goes, I would not be able to. I wouldn't have been able to quit my job based on just the money that I made.
No. Well, especially because we don't publish enough fiction for that.
But I would say one of the things that you, if it's at all possible for you to go to a convention and actually meet some of the people involved in developing the game, so they know what you look like and they know that you're not a crazy person, that's another good way to get your foot in the door as far as writing for Shadowrun. That's how I did it.
Don't be a crazy person. Gotcha.
I am a crazy person, but
if you are a crazy person, don't let them meet you first. And get a good persona on the
right. That's what Canray did.
Well,
yes.
just let them know you're not dangerous crazy. you know,
Network,
like
yeah.
stalker crazy.
Networking helps too. Like if you know a writer and they can vouch for you, sometimes they can get you in and whatever as well. Because I know. What's that? Go ahead.
Sorry. I started out doing fan fiction, which is, probably the worst way of starting out. And
I honestly, I'm pretty sure almost all of us here probably technically started out doing fan fiction, because before I ever worked for FASA or did any of my writing, I was doing crap on the internet.
Yeah, but you were doing crap on the internet on dial-up, man.
Well, everybody was back then. I mean,
Nice.
Rats, Winterhawk, and all that started off as fan fiction.
Bunch of novels that are still up on my website to
Yeah.
this day. That's where I got my start.
So fan fiction is not a negative thing, because if nothing else, it shows your interest, it shows your passion, and if you're at least halfway decent, it shows your talent or
That is
lack,
true.
or at least lack of talent, or but you're willing and able to try to write stuff.
Yeah.
All right.
Next question.
Winning a contest does work.
Yeah. Go ahead, Scott.
I said winning a contest does work too.
So-
My first published was in Street Legends, but how I got in was writing a tournament for Shadowrun, because I submitted and got to write the tournament for Gencan't, and that was the first hey look, you can write.
Which tournament was that?
First one that I did, was it 11? No,
Was that under Chuck?
What was the?
it was
what was
John.
the plot?
That was John. Okay.
I wrote it. There was no plot.
What was the setting?
Actually, I think that was the. Was that the one where I pulled Bottled Demon forward? Cheating and using my notes, because I keep track of all these things.
You said it like it's a bad thing.
No.
2009. So whatever was in 2009.
That was both a
'Cause I
long
wrote
time
9,
ago and
11, 12, 13, 14, 16, and 18.
I remember doing an audio sort of intro for a tournament where it was like the intro was some dude's journal as he got more and more crazy, and I did that as an audio thing
Nice.
to be played, and I was just wondering if that was you.
I don't know.
I just remember talking crazy about a knife.
Aaron, since you came in after we did our intros, why don't you introduce yourself to the folks that are listening in? Tell them who you are and give them an idea of some of the stuff you've worked on.
Hi. My name is Aaron Pavao. On the subject of getting in, I got into Shadowrun when I sort of just asked. God, that was 2006, I want to say.
Something like that.
And
Yeah,
I'm trying to. Who was in charge?
that would have been that was back during the Fan Pro days. So that would have been Rob
Yeah.
and them.
Rob. It was Rob. Yeah, I just emailed Rob and said, "Hey, I'd like to do a thing." And he said, "Are you good?" And I said, "Here's some stuff." And he said, "Great. Here, right for Unwired. Off you go." And I've been doing stuff on and on, off and on ever since. I'm actually, thank you, Bull, for adding me to the panel. I wasn't expecting. I haven't actually written for Shadowrun in a little bit. I have this child.
That will.
Incidentally, if you suddenly hear some crying and I just disappear, that's because
That's
the
because.
child.
That's you'll blame it on the kid. I see.
Although, heck, to be fair, he's the reason I'm not at Gen Con and I'm here. But
Couple more years and you'll be able to take him to Gen Con with you.
Oh, please, we can cosplay a baby easily.
Well, Slammo does have a kid.
Yeah, yep. And I got to
That's
name
true.
him.
And, well, actually, Slammo's gained some weight, so maybe I could cosplay him.
Yes, you can. He's got that. He's rocking that dad bod quite nicely. While
Yeah.
he goes bowling.
He's not like he was back when he was in romance novel
Yeah.
stories. Anyway, point being, I do a lot of rule stuff. I've written for other stuff too. I've got stuff in a lot more than 2, let's just say. And I ran missions before Bull.
Yeah, it was like you and wow, I'm blanking on his name now.
Yeah, me too.
You were
I
tag teaming
had a
with.
name, had a last name. You know who we're talking to.
Yes. Yeah, it definitely wasn't just me. Yeah. Because I kind of was doing it with John Dunn, and then after that I was doing that with...
Mike, Matt,
No.
Stephen
Stephen McQuillan.
McQuillan.
There we go.
Oh.
Thank you. Stephen McQuillan. Yeah, and that's enough about me. Let's have more questions.
All right. Is there currently a contest for missions? It is currently over, although I think they're going to be running one again next year. Danny Oliver, the current missions developer, he's been doing a thing where each year he's leaving one slot open for basically to give somebody a shot at writing a missions adventure, which is I'll be flat out honest, it's a terrible way to make money because missions gets paid even less than freelancing, but it is a good foot in the door. And you do get paid something, so it's better than, working for exposure.
And we don't want us exposing ourselves.
God, no.
Another thing about missions is if you have this cool idea for an adventure and you want to show off how clever you are, it's a great place to do that.
Yeah, because missions is
some amazing missions.
Yeah. Missions is a lot more open to going outside the lines a little bit.
Oh, although, since we're talking about writing, trust your editor.
Yes.
Yes.
There's always somebody who's like, oh, my work doesn't need editing, my work is fine, that thing you did to change it is wrong. Don't be that guy. Please don't be that guy.
It is a shared universe. Be prepared that things are going to change. It's part of a team.
Yeah, sometimes
not an individual.
Yeah, sometimes whatever you're writing will need to be adjusted to fit within other building blocks that's going on. Sometimes stuff's just not. Your editor will usually know better how things are going to work, so they might know that this is a really cool scene you wrote, but in actual play, it's not going to fly that well, especially within, say, missions or within the confines of the general Shadowrun universe or whatever. I think we're caught up here, so let's toss a question out to the crowd. Scott, who's your favorite Shadowrunner and why?
Wow, that's a tough one. I'm my favorite Shadowrun. No. I developed a really, I don't know, just an attachment to, and then left him out for Saren Chamander, who was originally written by French named guys whose names I can't pronounce, like Gasquion.
Oh yeah.
And I pulled him forward and totally threw his life for a loop in Street Legends, and then have been seeding him here and there in other books since then. And he's one of my favorites. He started out just as a very fun character, and then I made him even weirder. And he's my current favorite, other than Bull. Bull's my other favorite. But that's just to get on Bull's good side.
That's okay. I don't ever get to write Bull anymore, so it's
yeah, all the rest of us do. But I do every time. I think while I'm writing Bull, I think, would Bull say this? And it always comes out in my head in your voice.
Excellent.
With a slight orcish My teeth are stuck in front of my jaw.
Aaron, how about you?
Sorry, I was answering a different question. What?
Okay, your favorite Shadowrun character, and why?
Of mine or of the canon characters?
Canon characters.
I will always like Dev Girl for a number of reasons. Partly because I created her based on a group of my. She's sort of a group character based on a bunch of students. But mostly for what Bull did with her, because that was cool.
I'm glad you liked it.
Street Legends, I think.
Street Legends Supplemental.
Right. Street Legends Supplemental.
Yeah, it was technically Kane's entry.
The thing on that character who always in my brain says Wolverine, but his name's not Wolverine.
Kane.
Kane. There we go. If you haven't read that write-up on Kane that Bull did, do that now. And if you have to buy it on PDF, do that now. It's totally worth it.
It's only available on PDF.
Sure. Okay. Well, no. I bet you like Noble Knight or something has... No, it was only on PDF.
Yeah, it was a PDF only product.
Yeah,
If you buy it on paper, then immediately report that. Anyway. But yeah, read that, and that was fun. I really liked Black Mamba. She was fun to write for. Oh golly, who else? Oh no, sorry, that character's not a Shadowrun character. Never mind. But he was a lot of fun to write for.
Right.
Yeah, those are it. We'll leave it there. Black Mamba and Dev Girl.
Yeah, Dev Girl was a lot of fun to tweak because she had been the clueless newbie for a while, and it was it had gotten to the point where she needed to graduate. So I know I took her and I decided to finally have her sick of everybody giving her crap for being the newbie, and it was a lot of fun to put Bull and Slammo in their place. And I know Canray played around with her a little bit too with in
Safe Houses.
Safe Houses.
Yeah, I got to write as her, and it was very weird trying to get into the head of a late teenage girl.
I would be more concerned.
Report.
I would be more concerned if it was easy for you.
The major thing that I had to keep doing was I had to keep remembering she doesn't know how to research. She's always programmed computers to do her homework for her.
Yeah, no, that was a good touch. Because it's easy to forget just how much automation
all the technology is.
Yeah.
Yep.
E. Bauer's got a question. Will there be an advanced cyberware book, and will it reintroduce the Encephalon and other cyberware that gives Deckers a boost? And the answer to that would be, because Qatar says is that Chrome Flesh, but Chrome Flesh I think was just the general cyberware book. Because right now we've gotten to the point where they're started in 5th edition they've started doing basically 2 books for a basic book and then an advanced book that adds extra gear, extra options and stuff like that as on top of the base stuff. And at this point I don't think there's anything announced. Unless I'm completely missing something, which is entirely possible. We've only had the one cyberbook. There's only been the one cyberbook, right?
Just Chrome Flesh. They've thrown a lot of other cyberware into some of the other books.
Yeah. But I imagine that eventually there will be. But at this point, I don't believe there's anything that's been announced, at least.
Lyria asked the best question. Yes, the Rigger book will come out right before we make 6th edition. It's now the second Rigger book to throw people off.
Yeah. And Era Hexa, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. Says that Bull needs a damn hug. Bull sometimes does need a hug.
Sometimes.
Well,
luckily he's got a wife.
I don't know how often you need a hug, but you deserve a hug all the time.
Well, the character, not so much me.
Because I stand by what I said.
I do. Well, I appreciate that. I do tend to put Bull through the ringer whenever I write him, but Bull is always that goes back to my original GM, Stephen Tenner. because Steve was I'm a firm believer in this as well as a GM and a player and a storyteller, is that you appreciate you appreciate things when you earn it through blood, pain, sweat, and tears. And Bull earns every single thing he ever gets the hard way. So, Ebauer, I think that answered your question. So, yeah, we're going to talk about... I've got a few books I can talk about what's coming up, including Better Than Bad and No Future. We'll do that here in a little bit.
I have a book that an ebook that's coming up. Crime has not finished yet with Street Lethal. I can't really say much more than that.
Scott, this is a little bit more towards you, I think.
What I do now?
Vren asked, just in case someone wrote the SL section on mercenaries, what happened with the
some of
Sox?
it.
Sox is... Oh, no, never mind. Sox is...
Germany.
Germany. I was thinking for some reason I was thinking that was Boston.
Nope.
And I know
Nima QZ.
No.
Yeah, and I know you're a go-to
Never got
guy
a
for
cool way of
Boston.
saying it.
What's that?
Never got a cool way of saying Nima QZ, but you know. Red Sox. There's no Red Sox left.
Aw, shame on you.
my Chicago White Sox fan here just crushed their.
Yeah, I don't. Does anybody know about what happened with Sox now since MET2K are busy being half dead?
RJ would know. He updated the stuff for.
Okay.
Matt
Yeah,
2K
he's.
in there.
Yeah,
that wasn't one of mine. I made
Yeah.
a bunch of new ones.
And he's currently at Gencan't,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
having fun without us.
Whatever. He's not having fun without us. Without us there, the whole thing's gonna collapse.
That's true. I'm amazed. I'm amazed GenCon can even happen without me being there.
I know.
Who would hug the giant D20?
I've been to every Gen Con for the last 30 years.
You've got me beat even.
It hurt
Uh-huh.
knowing that I couldn't go. Although I'm just looking at him and I've got a little video monitor of him sleeping. So I guess it's totally worth it.
Well, that's good.
Yes, it is.
Although after
Sometimes
seeing
we
the-
trade for things.
Well, after seeing the big battle mech, I kind of wished I had a little elemental costume for him.
Aww.
No,
anyway.
what you do is you get the big mech.
Wrong game.
You get the big mech, and you get one of the little baby carriers that you wear around, and the baby sits in your front. You put that around the mech and have the baby riding the mech.
There you go. Or dress up as a battle mech with a little baby carrier with it as an elemental.
Yeah, that giant mech is amazing.
Yep.
But wrong game. Hey, look, Shadowrun.
No. I'm just scrolling right now. On crime, I'm running crime's product placement deal for a week to sell a bunch of product. So somebody loves the crime.
Okay, so what's the question with the crime?
I don't think there's a question. He was just commenting on it.
Oh, okay.
You just throwing props your way. Ira Hicksa.
One of the runs is a base jump off the Space Needle with crime shoots for publicity.
That would certainly be something that they would do. They may or may not have shoots that work.
Qatar thinks that crime is racist and gnome hating.
They
everyone
don't
hate
hate
gnomes?
gnomes. They just build things for a much larger audience.
So what you're saying is we now need to come up with a company who specifically targets gear towards dwarves and gnomes.
Crime might do that.
Oh, crime offshoot.
Yes,
Little crimes.
right.
Misdemeanors, I think it should be called.
That is perfect.
Third division misdemeanors.
All right.
And now the race to get it into the next book.
Rat.
It looks like my book is going to grow now. Oh.
Rat, since we were talking favorite characters, I think yours is almost a no-brainer, but who's your favorite character?
You saying Shadowrunner or Shadowrun character?
Shadowrun characters.
Shadowrun characters. Well, obviously I have a soft spot for Winterhawk. we've been together for a long time, so I'm kind of used to him. But aside from him, I really like a lot of the dragons, like Dunkelzahn, Loftweir, Aemon. I'm kind of a dragon nut. I also like
Rubia.
I didn't hear that.
You can ignore it. Pretend I don't talk.
And speaking of the old books by the French guy who nobody can pronounce,
Gascoigne.
Gascoigne and Sargent. Yeah, I like Michael Sutherland, who was a Decker back.
Oh,
in the
yeah.
day, back in the day.
There's an oldie.
Yep.
He was one of my earliest favorite Shadowrun characters. I never did anything with him going forward. He's probably pretty old by now, though.
One of the first things I ever got
Still messed up.
one of the first things I ever got handed by Tinner when we were starting to play Shadowrun, because he handed me a handful of things to read to get an idea of the universe and everything, was they eventually got reprinted in a compilation, but Mike Stackpole had written the Wolf and Raven stories that had come out in a handful of magazines, old White Wolf magazine, Challenge magazine, and stuff. And Tinner would collect.
Some came out before the rules for Shadowrun.
Yeah, they were out. Yeah, they were out before the rules, before first edition even came out, which is kind of why Wolf was always a little. You couldn't quite build him because
Yeah, his style is not the.
yeah, he was
style.
designed before the some of the game rules were finalized. But anyways, yeah, Tinner had handed me all those magazines and said, "Here, read these short stories." So Wolf, Raven, Kid Stealth, all those characters, those have always been some of my favorites. Just fun characters, style for miles.
Oh yeah.
Canray,
Yeah.
who's your favorite character?
I have quite a number of them.
All right, pick a couple.
Pick a couple. Chuck Razul, if you can remember him.
Oh yeah, I remember Chuck.
Yep. The Neon Samurai.
Neon Samurai was fun.
Yeah,
Him and
especially
his
with
rivalry
his-
with
Braveheart too.
yeah.
For more recent canon characters, Slammo is my author avatar. I have to just outright say it. He and I just mesh so well, especially as he's no longer the soccer brawler type, and he's now the dad going to sports type.
He's a soccer dad.
Yeah, he's a soccer dad. He's got the minivan and everything. I love Kane. There are certain situations where I am Kane as well. And Plan 9 is just wonderful to write with, because you can say anything coming out of him, and it could be right, it could be wrong, it could be right, except it's twisted, and it could be all of the above at the same time. I also got the chance to have him say that St. Nicholas, yes, Santa Claus, is the patron saint of Shadowrunners.
Yeah, Plan 9's a lot of fun.
I actually did extensive research to see who would be the patron saint of Shadowrunners, and it was a really tough choice, but I had to go with Saint Nick because he's also the patron saint of thieves.
Scott, what were you saying?
I don't know.
Okay.
What did I say?
I don't know. You started to say something, but
I
okay.
don't remember.
Just speak up. I know we're loud and chatty. Okay, Lyriel, unfortunately, I don't know a whole lot about any upcoming Rigger stuff. Nothing specific. He was asking if there was going to be any more walker drones that aren't anthroforms. Unfortunately, there's nothing on the books right now that I know of, or that we could talk about if there was. So, I imagine there might be certain things, but you always got to be careful introducing. Shadowrun's one of those ones you got to walk that fine line between how far do you push the tech before it stops being the Shadowrun that everybody likes. Because there's a certain point where tech tips over to... And it was the same thing with like some of the transhuman stuff, and that's one of the reasons we dialed it back with SR5. Is because the game starts to tip over and starts becoming a slightly different genre. And, you know, when you've got so many years of being this game, this specific feel and look and style to the game universe, you got to be careful when you start evolving it too far. Or you go all in and just go completely hog wild with the new style, one of the two. But you got to be careful at that balance point, and I'm not sure where we're at with that yet.
Yeah, I mean, gosh, what was that TV show on Netflix that was very Shadowrun-y?
Right?
Altered
Carbon.
Altered Carbon.
Altered Carbon. Thank you.
There's all the people typing.
Yikes. I love it all scrolls up. Altered Carbon. Thanks, guys. Yeah, so that was really Shadowrun-y, as many people would say, except that tech was way past where Shadowrun is.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people, I saw a lot of people writing article quality posts saying, this is not Shadowrun because this and this and that. Is it Eclipse Phase? It's closer to Eclipse Phase.
Yeah, it's closer to Eclipse Phase. Eclipse Phase took a lot of inspiration from it. I know that was one of their go-to books for the go-to series when they were working on that.
Yeah, for sleeving and stuff. But the feel of the game is kind of more, I don't know, it's a little more Indiana Jones than, you know, hard-boiled detective crossed with, well, let's face it, despair.
I see a question here that I'd like us to discuss.
Sure.
Do you think Shadowrun is headed to a post-cyberpunk direction? I see a lot of social media type stuff coming up in runs.
Okay. Point of clarification. What are we? What do we mean when we say post cyberpunk?
Trying to actually make the world better, as opposed to just everything being ground down and it's a big black boot on your face forever. To quote a literary classic.
I think that my opinion has always been that Shadowrunners and the players should be trying to fight to make it better for the most part. I mean, there's room for the mercs, there's room for the darker aspects of the game, but I've always been a big fan of Shadowrunners being to a certain degree, the underdog anti-hero heroes.
The knight in rusty armor.
Right. But it's a fight they can't win because the odds are just too stacked against them. But it's the fight that's important, not the eventual goal.
With my group, they actually have a motto or a saying in my group. We do bad things to bad people. So they are not heroes in any way, shape, or form, or what have you, but they're the bad things that all of the bad people look under the bed for.
As for where the game's going, right now, and it was one of the reasons we dialed things back, is because 4th edition was sort of pushing with the transhumanism and a lot more of the social media and stuff, because it's both harder and easier for society to be dark when, in my opinion, for when information is free. It's one of the reasons you always have that old anarchist, information wants to be free thing, is because when information is power, and if people have access to information, people have access to power. So, to my mind, the corporations would lock that shit down hard. They would prevent people from having the information. They would prevent people from having the power because they don't want to lose control.
Seconded.
What's that?
I second that.
I think, to a certain degree, 4th edition was kind of going that way. And if you look at Eclipse Phase, I kind of feel that Eclipse Phase is kind of what some of those guys were thinking when they were working on 4th edition. With that more transhumanist look at the future. Because that does allow you to have a better future.
Yeah,
Sorry.
4th edition was definitely sliding toward transhumanism. I mean, we were writing about player character everything's, artificial intelligences, e-ghosts
Right.
were in the mix somewhere at some point.
Yeah, you had the being able to
Free
transfer
spirit.
the brains in the jar, all of that.
Yep.
There's a brilliant quote about it. Transhumanism is how technology is going to be able to solve all of humanity's powers, and cyberpunk is how it won't.
With 5th edition was an attempt to dial that back, to bring it back towards the more 1st, 2nd, and 3rd edition feel of the game. Because some players really liked the 4th edition, that more transhuman aspect of it, but some players didn't. And it was basically a matter of making the choice of which direction did we want the game to go. So for the time being, that's the direction we went. Whether the game keeps going that direction or eventually we decide to jump ahead and push in a different direction, I don't know. That's above our pay grade.
Yep.
At the moment, we're maintaining. So I don't think we'll see anything too much more in that direction later on.
I
But
do remember at the big powwow about 5th edition and what it was going to look like. One of the things that came down from on high was it must be more cyberpunk and less transhuman.
right.
And
Everything
imagine
has a cost.
that with all caps.
So I think that answers that question. Dr. M was asking if there's any plans for 30th edition, similar to 20th anniversary edition release for 4E. Unfortunately, I don't know. If there is, it's nothing that's... If there is, there's nothing that we can talk about or that I specifically know. I'm a little less in the loop these days because I've had other priorities and I've stepped back from a lot of the heavy freelancing that I used to do. So I imagine if there is, it's under NDA, but I don't know, and I haven't heard anything. So I can say that much.
Yes, Aaron, it actually is time for 30th anniversary. Shadowrun came out in 1989.
Yep.
I am 500 years old.
Yeah, that's actually what
Let's
the
shake
big
the dust off of him. He'll be fine.
that's actually what the big mech at Gencan't is for. The big awesome is they're prepping that because they're taking votes on the paint scheme for it, and then they're going to have that as a centerpiece next year because it'll be BattleTech's 35th.
Yeah. The 30th anniversary is 2019.
Yes.
We should vote
Yep.
to have it painted with a pink mohawk, wearing a black trench coat, and just take over their year.
I wish we could. I definitely want to try to do something cool for the 30th, and I have some ideas that I'm going to try to toss at Jason, but we'll see.
I really want to see more battle run stuff.
Battle run stuff would be fun.
Yes.
We could just have Shadowrun run for Senate. That's the thing, right?
It couldn't be any worse than our current guy. Anyways, we'll not talk
Depends on
politics.
where you live.
The Senate in my government is very, very different. You actually
Yes.
can't run.
Well, I was going to say our government in general, but we're not going to go there.
Yes, thank you.
So Arahex says, so tech could possibly really go as far as we want, so long as the social punk aspect is still kept intact. To a degree. Mm-hmm. The big thing I think about it is, and this is something that I think we kind of lost sight of in 3rd edition starting, because the idea was we came up with all these really cool toys, but then we, of course, wanted to make the toys available to the players because the players want the toys.
Yeah.
Which, from a player and a game perspective makes perfect sense, but from a world-building perspective, it's one of those things where I think there should be a lot more things that are in the setting as part of the game world, but things that players can't readily access unless they manage to, steal it. Yeah. Things like, a lot more prototypes, a lot of things that the corps keep on lockdown.
That's pretty much what a lot of the things that Street Lethal
Yes.
is about.
Yeah, I know there was a bunch of stuff in there. Although,
like flying cars.
hey, I'm all for it.
I think there is a flying car, isn't there?
There is. There's several of them. I put them there.
Yes.
Gravity weapons, because you have to push the tech and then not let anyone have it.
The
I don't
joy
know.
that
I mean,
joy-
at the risk of being that guy, I don't know if you need to push the tech. I mean, Dark Ages happen.
Yeah, you don't need to.
Well, that's what Shadowrun
well, the
started
Crash of
as.
2029
came
was
from
it was a
exactly
major
made
dark age.
Yeah. That's why we were able to keep it as, we could make our phones not be able to... Our devices downloaded or access things that, we could fit on a cell phone now.
Yeah.
That was one of the joys that I had with
Absolutely
writing
about it.
Prime, was that I was able to create all of these new and wonderful toys and everything else. The players would be able to have access to them, but it's balanced because they're garbage.
Kier Jorso mentions that he says that Season 9 is a bit more oppressive. This is regarding Shadowrun missions in Neo Tokyo. A
It
part
is.
of that is because of Neo Tokyo itself.
Mm-hmm.
In early Shadowrun, Neo Tokyo, or Tokyo and Japan in general, because almost half of the megacorps in first edition were Japanese, because this was back in the 80s when, the idea that the Japanese were going to take over the world basically through their tech and through their business. Of course, obviously, things change, but as Japan was written originally, basically the corps controlled it, lock, stock, and barrel. So it was one of the reasons you didn't see anything written for Tokyo for so long, despite the fact that it was a popular idea for a setting, was because it just simply wasn't a viable place for Shadowrunners to operate. It was too corporate controlled for the Shadowrunners to ever have a chance of success. With the Ring of Fire and Year of Comet, that was one of the things we aimed to change. Was because that brought in the new Emperor, who had different views. So things are slowly changing, but there's still a lot of that traditionalist. And that's actually something that Season 9 is going to be playing with, is the idea of traditional versus progressive viewpoints and how that affects Shadowrun. And from a game and a style perspective, Seattle was Seattle. Seattle was your default Shadowrun. Chicago was kind of an anything goes because you were playing mostly in the containment zone, which is a no man's land. So now you've got Season 9, which is a little more restrictive. And it'll be a matter of, how do players react to that? All right. Does anybody have any questions about novels or the fiction line? It's probably we have a couple of other things to talk about.
I want to write a novel.
I think we all want to write a novel. The question is do we have the ability to?
Yeah, that's the problem.
Rat, I know that you're our big fiction writer here. So, Kier Jorso, there's more novels lined up. They just released a, Robin, Sprawl something? Sprawl Stories?
Sprawl Stories.
Do you have anything in that one?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a collection of 4 novellas. There's me, Rusty Zimmerman, Dylan Bertolo, and
Was it Jennifer, maybe?
that's what I said.
Oh, okay. You cut off there at the end.
Oh, sorry about that. Yeah, Jennifer Brozek. It's Dockwagon 19, I think, is hers.
Okay.
Yay, Doc Wagon.
So yeah, we've got new novels and stuff coming out. Certain games have been dividing books into mechanics-related books and fluff-related books as 2 separate lines. Is there something we'll ever see in Shadowrun? We sort of have that with the fiction versus the game books, I guess.
Well, I'll talk about that or make a statement on that from the business side of things. It's better to mix them both in one because then you sell to a wider audience.
Yeah.
If you separate them in two, if you have people who only want the rules, they only buy the rules. And then your game master's all about the fluff, so he's the one who buys the fluff. There's only one game master in any said small group, so you increase the number of books you sell by putting rules in with fluff.
Yeah, that's also one of the reasons we don't get the focused location books and stuff anymore.
Right. Yeah, but there's usually a location in most of the books.
Right.
Like, they in Better Than Bad, it's Pretoria or Pavao as it's called.
Night,
I
Aaron.
remember that one. And then they did Havana in Hard Targets. So they've had Cuba, a couple other things.
So, Rat, do you have any other books? Do you have any more Shadowrun stuff you're planning to do, or is it?
I do have a sorry.
Go ahead.
I have another novel coming out next year. Maybe it might have gotten pushed into 2020 at this point. I know there was some pushing back on the novel line. It's called Veiled Extraction, and it's set in the Boston lockdown era. Actually, it was funny. I don't know if it, for those of you who supported the Sprawl Ops Kickstarter, I don't know whether you noticed it, but on the survey there was a list of a whole bunch of heretofore unpublished novels that you can get in on. I was surprised they actually mentioned that one because I hadn't heard anything about it anywhere else. But there were several others on there too, including Rusty's Stirred and Jennifer Brozek's Makita Red, and two or three others that I can't remember that I'd never heard of. Well, I had heard of them actually, but they had not been announced. So that's cool to know that all that stuff's coming down the road, including mine, which.
No, that'd be cool. Is it another? If you could talk anything about it, is it another Winterhawk novel, or is it something else?
Yeah. It's actually it's a Winterhawk novel where he and Ocelot go into the lockdown zone looking for a missing person.
Nice.
Yeah, it's. I turned it in quite a while ago actually, so it's in the hands of the editor right now, so it's done.
Cave Monster asks about he says, works at Barnes & Noble, it's becoming impossible to get the physical novels in the store. I'm not sure what's going on with that. There's something with the publisher, and I'm not entirely sure why, or what exactly is happening there. There's something with the pipeline with the novels.
It's got something to do with the distribution with Barnes & Noble. I know they've been having trouble with it, but I don't know what the latest is on it.
Yeah,
I'm still trying to find it, Barnes and Noble.
I thought there was some other bookstores they were supposed to be getting sold at as well, but I'm not sure. Yeah, I was gonna say.
I've seen a few of them at my game store, but I haven't seen one at Barnes & Noble in ages.
How hard is it to propose and get to do a novel, or even one of the short stories or novellas?
I want to break into writing Shadowrun fiction. I would say novellas are probably a better bet. I know that the novel pipeline is stuffed to the gills right now, which is why things are getting pushed out so far. So your best bet is to probably contact John Helfers, who's the fiction editor. Pitch a novella at him. About 20 to 25,000 words, I believe, is the.
Yep.
I know I know Canray said he'd like to write a novel. Aaron, have you ever thought about trying to do any novels or novellas or anything?
I'm here. Yeah. Actually, I've got one. That someday I might be able to finish when
when you can actually get some sleep again.
Yeah. Someday.
How about you?
Somebody beats me to it.
How about you, Scott?
I have a short story in the Tarot anthology, and I actually I am one of the, much like Rat, people who have a piece sitting on Mr. Helfer's desk, waiting for novella time for one of the next novellas, or the next compilations of novellas.
Yeah, I've got
So I have that one out there. And as for a book, I'm partially through one on my Patreon. I keep throwing chapters of it up when I can, but I would write a book at some point. I actually, when I originally pitched to John for writing a novella or writing stories, he got like 8 different novels thrown at him, and he was like, "Pick your favorite." I'm like, "You pick your favorite." I can write them all. Which one do you want?
You're the one with the money, dude.
Yeah.
I imagine, much like most of us freelancers, I have a partially started novella or novel and an idea for one sitting around, but whether I ever actually get around to it or not is always the question.
My main issue is that my short stories end up to be novellas, my novellas end up being novels, and my novels end up making David Weber look very, very, very skimpy.
Alright, let's see if we have more questions we haven't gotten to yet.
Come on, folks, ask away.
Yeah, any more questions, folks? We're open for business here. Otherwise, Scott will start singing.
Please no.
Yeah, that's a bad idea. All I can sing is in Irish.
You guys know about
I can answer.
the lyrics in the main book, right? In the main rule book?
Street Samurai.
Oh.
I'm so happy.
Oh yeah. Let's go ahead and
Sing the rest of that.
Here we go. Here's
I've
here's
been
the big
I've been
question.
approved for a couple of books. Kill Code, obviously, which is out at Gencan't. That is the Advanced Matrix book. Better Than Bad, which has been announced. That is the upcoming Hooder book for Shadowrunners. Talking about Shadowrunners who aren't just in it for the money. I'm really looking forward to seeing what they do with that one. I really wanted to write for that one, but I just didn't end up being able to get a chance to submit anything.
I'm staring at a proof of it.
Excellent.
It exists.
Because I've always been, like I said earlier, I've always been a fan of the idea that Shadowrunners are effectively fighting the good fight. Getting paid for it, but still, they're the guys trying to stand up to the corporations in some way or another and not just tools of the corporation. And the other big one is No Future, which I don't know if much has been said about that yet.
No,
but
not much has been said.
That is a Shadowbeat style book.
Mm-hmm. Shadowbeat Attitude.
Yeah, Shadowbeat Attitude. It's going to be, sports and entertainment and
Music.
lifestyles and, yes, music.
Lots of Slano just talking.
and rules, I hear.
Probably some rules. So that's a big one that I don't think has had a whole lot said about it yet. So Jason approved me to talk about that slightly. I don't have a whole lot of information about it because that's another one that I would have loved to submit for, and I just didn't get to. Because Shadowbeat's probably hands down one of my favorite books ever for Shadowrun.
There's this question just came out that I have to answer because I feel like I have him. Any plans for Sprouto? Jack is, I think, 5 or 6 at this point, and is still being used as a prop by Daddy to go on Shadowruns. He knows how to cry on command now, and is able to throw a really big temper tantrum that has security guards being thrown under the bus by their supervisors.
Canray, with Jack being about the age to start going to school, this might be a good idea for me and you to cooperate on something and come up with and introduce the Dunkelzahn Memorial School for Shadowrunners.
Yep.
Shadow babies.
Yes, Shadow Babies. And
I'm sorry, you want
Flat
Bull
Runs.
and Canray to do that?
No, me and
Not the
Canray. Well, you're the teacher, but I don't know, Aaron, if you remember. I've talked about it off and on over the years. That idea for Shadowrun High.
I'm slighted. No, I'm kidding. It's fine.
No, this would be something for everybody, but just as something to put into the fiction. The idea that there's a school for the kids of Shadowrunners so they could be safe.
Or even just Shadow Nannies.
Shadow nannies, something along those lines.
Somebody's got to watch the kids.
Yep.
Audiobooks. Scott and Rat, you're probably the two best to know about the current state of audiobooks for Shadowrun.
As far as I know, go ahead.
They have tons of really good voice actors that are willing to. It's just a matter of producing them is not easy. Zarnecki is actually a really good voice actor as well as one of the writers. So he could he could read his own audiobook.
But as Rat says, audio dramas are expensive to produce. Mm-hmm. And they're not. What's that?
I was just going to say, not necessarily audio dramas, just reading, just doing straight reading. They're still kind of expensive to produce, but not nearly as much as like fully.
Oh yeah, full drama.
Finding a good Foley artist as well.
Telling you, if I ever win the lottery, one of the things I'm doing is a Shadowrun anime.
That would be awesome.
We need a web series. That's what we need.
We need something.
Rooster Teeth did something with the Xbox game that actually was awesome.
Don't mention that. Everybody gets all salty.
I know. It was the only awesome thing that game was about, so that's all I'm going to say.
Hey, there's a James.
Hey, James, you missed my compliment for you earlier. Though speaking of, with the arrival of James,
I don't think he's actually in.
All right, thank you all for all of this. I am out.
All right, Scott, thanks for being here. Appreciate it.
You're all welcome. Now I just gotta figure out how to leave. I'm just gonna turn this program off.
That works.
So, there's a little thing where it says voice connected, and then there's a
little phone icon.
Oh, there we go.
Just click that and it'll disconnect you.
Goodbye.
All right.
We write about hacking. We don't know how to hack, however.
We play a hacker on TV.
Yeah.
I'm
not a real hacker, but I play one on TV.
What do y'all think about the Harebrained Schemes Shadowrun games? Oh, I love them, Lariel. They're fantastic.
They're glorious. They're wonderful. Bulls in the third one.
Yes, thanks to folks.
Yep. I wish we could get them. I wish we could get Harebrained Schemes to work on stuff closer to our timeline, like the 2070s. But they want to do all 2050s stuff, and I can't really blame them for that either.
Well, they've got that one guy.
The guy that actually made the game.
Yeah, that actually was on the team that made the game in the first place.
Yeah. Jordan Wiseman?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's one of the original developers of Shadowrun. Mike Mulvihill, who is the line developer in 2nd and 3rd edition, was involved.
Yep.
Mitch Geidelman, who worked on the oh-so-loved FPS, was involved. But Mitch is a really, really good game, and I've officially forgiven him.
So have I.
So
I may have wept a little bit yesterday when, having packed up my computer because we're moving, I looked for a Shadowrun game for my iPad, and it was gone.
Aww. Oops. Crimson.
I have a Shadowrun Genesis cartridge that still works, so.
Crimson.
The cartridge works, or do you have a system that goes with it?
I also have the system that goes with it.
James, if you can hear us, apparently I've got you on here twice for some reason. Although you're not showing up as online anymore, weirdly enough. If you can hear me, though, leave the voice chat and join again real quick, because I just swapped out some of your settings, so you should be able to talk. And he can't hear anything.
Okay.
Well, we probably should be wrapping up before too much longer, so I don't want to spend too much time messing around with him. Can, do you want to talk to him real quick? Tell him to try getting the app rather than the browser if he's doing that. So is there a central planning committee for what happens with the overall Shadowrun timeline? Jason pretty much is the main guy.
Right.
Jason's in charge of plotting overall what happens. He gets some input from the powers that be, which is generally Randall and a little bit of Lauren Coleman, but Jason's the main one who decides, what all's going to happen in the upcoming year or two of Shadowrun. And then he passes it to us, although Jason's pretty open if somebody's got an idea for an adventure or a storyline or whatever. We can, pitch things to him, and if Jason likes it, he'll incorporate it into what's going on. I know that for, missions, he's usually given the missions developer pretty open reign to do whatever they want with the area that they're working in. Shy of, blowing it up if it's being used. I couldn't blow up Seattle, but I could have blown up Chicago.
Which is why I wasn't allowed to use my bus. The bus is a very long story that I won't go into. But yeah, it's something like the sheep.
For the novels, Rat, is there any input from Jason and them as to what you need to do, or is it pretty open?
Primarily, the novels are controlled by John Hill first. Jason, I'm sure, has some input into it, but John is the novel line developer, so he's the guy that you'd have to talk to. And he's very open to new ideas. If you have a good idea and you can pitch it to him, he's all for it.
So,
really loud.
yeah, somebody's breathing kind of heavy. I don't know. That's somebody's doing the Darth Vader breathing.
I am your father.
It says, considering if you try to equate real life with Matrix, you fail. That's a good thing. They don't know much about hacking. Otherwise, try to incorporate real world workings, and that would be bad. Yeah, that's one of the things we tried to do with when Aaron and I worked on Matrix for 5th edition was that was to try to keep it somewhat
Fictional.
somewhat fictional, somewhat fantasy, so that you could avoid some of the stuff that 4th edition had, where they tried to be a little more realistic with how the Matrix worked. But
there's also the fact that we didn't want to get rated like Steve Jackson Games did.
That was that was a long time ago.
We were looking at it and thinking, 60 years ago, the internet looked nothing like it does now, and so why would in 60 years it look like what it does now?
Well,
yeah.
Well, as I said
we
before, there was
basically deliberately decided not to care about how it worked under the hood.
Well, and that left it open for us to focus more on how does it work rather than why does it work, so to speak. If that makes sense. I'm not sure if it does. Brain's starting to fry a little.
I actually still have recordings of our conversations, our meetings
Nice.
somewhere.
Holding that for blackmail material for later?
Oh, you know what? Actually, I think it's in my computer, which is in a box somewhere.
Still haven't fully unpacked?
But yeah, if suddenly there's a museum of Shadowrun, I'm sure it could be curated.
Cure Jorso, I don't know that the official ending of Season 8 has been released. I think that they were waiting a little bit to. Hey, Crimson Dude's in.
And Crimson Dude just did the hacker voice. I'm in.
I think they're waiting a little bit longer to make sure. I think they wanted to wait to get season 9 queued up and running, and to give enough time to get feedback from GMs and stuff. I'm not sure where or how that's going to be posted or discussed or anything, though. So, James, Crimson Dude. Crimson Dude is James Meiers. He's one of our freelancers. James, would you like to say hi to everybody?
Hello, everybody.
Oh, you're very, very quiet, James.
Yeah, sorry.
You might need to turn your mic gain up.
We can hear you typing at least.
Or something.
Okay.
It's a little better, I think.
What the hell?
If you click on the little gear down at the bottom left, user settings, and then go to voice and video, you can turn up your input volume. Yeah. Yeah, it's exactly why Megapulses was a nice fictional measurement back in the early editions, and now we don't even worry about any specific measurements.
And now we have a picture of the typical 4th edition hacker.
Yeah. I actually really like the numbers aspect of early edition decking. I'm weird. I like that. I like the dungeon crawling aspect of the way, because I like the visuals for it for some reason. I could picture what I was doing and how I was doing it, and I was a big fan. But
I often will actually boot up my Genesis and show what the Matrix looks like in some of the really older systems that are still legacy connected to the Matrix.
But yes, the but at the same time, I also fully admit that it was a giant. You can a bit, but it's much less regimented and it's much less codified. Because it used to be that, shy of having a sculpted system, which was a rarity, your input-output looked like this, and your data store looked like this. Yeah. There was a very specific, God, what was it called? Universal Matrix something or other? There was a term for it, but basically it was codified what things were supposed to look like.
Yeah. Now, there are still things that are supposed to look like generically, but you can pay to change them and everything else.
Right.
So if you have the comlink that you just bought out of a vending machine, it's going to have the default settings.
Right.
So you buy a Renraku one, you look like a peasant rice farmer.
For the 5th edition, we also didn't want to make it so that, because in 4th edition you could make anything look like anything, and the life of the decker was bogged down saying, okay, what's that bird really? What's that?
Right.
What is that guy? And why is his nose a different icon? So for 5th edition, it's all you have, this is a deck, and this is a persona, and this is a file, and at the very least, you can see what that is. And of course, there's ways to hide that, but neither here nor that. There was. No.
I was just going to say, Crimson Dude is James Meiers. Like I said, he's one of our writers, since he's apparently having some issues talking. James is our resident lore master, just to a certain degree, because he remembers the most mundane, nitty-gritty stuff on Earth. You want to know who was the second CEO of a minor corporation? James is the guy to ask, because he will know, or he will have it written down somewhere.
James also possesses the jewel of memory.
Yes.
Got a question here. In terms of lore, which corporation has to be each writer's favorite? I've got quite a few sinners in my group, and I'm curious.
All right. Well, Ray, why don't you start us off?
It's a really tough question because I just did a lot of stuff with crime and was heavily into dealing with all of that, and I had carte blanche to create them. So crime would be my favorite at the moment, but beforehand, I gotta go with Ares. Ares is a big enough and difficult enough corporation that you really don't want to mess with it. But it doesn't have things like zero zones and everything else that MCT had. After that, it's got to be Dockwagon. Dockwagon's the only company that has been able to make it so that they get paid by Shadowrunners to not perform Shadowruns against them. They've actually been able to. They actually were able to make Shadowrunners pay them not to do jobs against them, because you're not going to screw with your healthcare.
Rat.
I would say probably Satyr Krupp. I like
God, I
Dragon.
love that dragon.
See, I like. Does a DIMR count as a corporation? Probably not.
They're a little looser. They're a little more of a organization than a corp, but still.
Just because they're so ambiguously, are they really evil or not, or does anybody really know?
Yeah, the Dimmer and the Draco Foundation. They're fun though. Aaron, I know you got your mic muted. I don't know if you're actually with us or not.
Oh, I'm here. I'm just turning it off so that when I type, it doesn't go clack, clack, clack.
Okay.
Are we talking about to write for, to use as villains?
I think it's just favorite in general.
Oof. It's tough, because, I mean, I've written for bunches of them over the years. I'm old.
We all are.
Yeah, truth. Golly.
Except for Rat, she's still 29.
Neonet /was amazing. In that it was just
Fuji / Novatech / Neonet /
I can do it.
I've always been a fan of them.
Horizon had some interesting ideas that I don't know if they actually came out with the Horizon trying to do good things, and it turned out to be horrible. Evo was fun to write for, because there happens to be a large corporation I live near with a crazy CEO that I was able to use as inspiration. Golly. The best villain, though, has got to be As Technology.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
All right. James.
I could never get my group to ever take As Technology pesos as payment. They always stop doing it.
James, if you're still with us, who's your favorite corp?
I think historically it's been technology.
You are still really quiet, man. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I have a shitty microphone.
Okay.
Historically, it's been As Technology, and aside from them, I think I've developed kind of a fondness for Spinrad lately. I don't know.
Can anyone even hear him?
I can, but that's because I went and actually turned him up on my end. If you right-click on his name, and then there's user volume, you can turn the volume up a bit.
Yeah, sorry about that.
That's okay. It happens. The downside of trying to use the Matrix.
Yeah. So yeah, Spinrad has also been a one that I've been fond of. I actually became fond of Spinrad because all the arguments Center and I used to have back in Dubshot. So yeah, basically as technology, because they were the megacorp that everybody else hated, and I thought it was kind of amusing. I also thought that the way that they're depicted in the Aslan source book is much more nuanced than I think a lot of people took credit for, or that a lot of people really read from. And so, like, I think I view it slightly differently, because it's this corporation that's built on a mythology that nobody who runs the corporation has any ties to or any faith in. And so I think it's kind of funny that everybody has, in a way, bought into as technology's image of itself.
Yeah, I can see that. Personally, I have to go Ares as my favorite, just because I will always see Damian Knight as David Xanatos from Gargoyles.
Yes.
That's how I always picture in my head. The couple times I've ever written him, that's how I write him. So to me, that's and he's always kind of been the embodiment. That character has always been kind of the embodiment of how I see Ares. I love as technology, but I love them both as the villain and as the misunderstood corporation, because they're not really. I mean, they do some shady shit, but I was getting there, Kier. They do some shady shit, but at the same time, I mean, they're just a corporation. They feed half the world.
Yeah, they feed half the world's garbage.
And but they also grow they grow a large majority of the food that the world. Bulls of Blood Mage, no, Bulls of Blood Decker. But no, and then I've always had a soft spot for Renraku, just because they were like they were one of the big decking corporations back in the day. They were on the ones that were doing the AI research and everything like that prior to Shutdown. And unfortunately, Shutdown really kind of hurt them.
Knocked them for a loop.
Well, knocked them from a loop, but then I think also I think for the most part they've kind of gone out of the spotlight, partially because they got so much attention as far as the Renraku Shutdown and the Deus arc that nobody's really decided to do anything with them since. So I think they're one of the corporations that have gotten the least love since Shutdown. So, those would be my favorites. I think we're going to wrap up in about 10 minutes. Why don't we say 9:45, because we'll have gone for about a little longer than I was originally planning, if everybody's cool with that.
Cool.
We'll get a few more questions in if anybody's got them.
Someone asked, Tech Mesh asked about why is Crime not a rated corporation? They have markets in multiple countries. My official statement is that Crime doesn't want to be rated because it would ruin their street cred, as Aaron said. And yeah, it'd screw up all their marketing.
Any hope for a Shadowrun romance line? Only if we can get Chuck Tingle to write it.
I met Chuck Tingle.
Did you?
Yes.
He does exist.
I met him at San Diego Comic-Con.
That's awesome.
I have half of a piece of fiction that could be turned into a romance line between Netcat and Household Toaster.
We just gotta keep Rusty away from it.
Yeah,
because he'll end up writing more Opti and Bull /fic, and nobody wants that.
The other fiction line that I do would be the hate slotting of Netcat and Clockwork.
Oh, Clockwork.
We're talking about fictional characters, and my stomach is still turning.
It did go get graphic, but yeah, one of Rusty's patrons paid him for that. So if you go to Rusty, if you become
Of course they did.
if you become a patron for Rusty Zimmerman's Patreon, it's up there, unfortunately.
Yeah, but he still said yes.
I know. Yeah, takes place during takes place after Shadowrun Hong Kong.
Is there any plans for Clockwork to finally get his? All of the characters are mortal. They can all die. They can die in any way, shape, or form. Maybe he'll just slip in the shower someday.
Yeah, I would love to see a few more characters bite it. I don't think we don't kill enough. I mean, it's unfortunately
We also don't introduce enough. To
Yeah.
be just off characters casually.
yeah, it's one of the downsides of having the more restrictive jack point. I mean, the upside is you get to know the characters better than some of the old characters, but the downside of it is it's harder to kill characters because you have to have a replacement for them. Because a lot of the characters fill a niche, they fill a role within the storyline, as far as knowledge base and stuff like that. And there's not always a lot of overlap, especially with the more specialized thing. As for why Clockwork hates Technomancer so much, he's just a racist, basically. It's just a. I don't think he has a reason. I mean, why are racists the way they are?
The reason is that he has actually had huge fears of the major AIs that caused Crash 2.0.
Oh, okay.
And when Technomancers first came out, everyone thought that AIs were creating them, just like AIs created the otaku beforehand.
I gotcha.
So yeah, he's a racist asshole, but there is some line of thought that is behind why he is a racist asshole.
Okay, so he's made up an excuse for it, but it's not necessarily a good one.
It's based off of faulty logic, is what it is.
Well, most racism is.
Exactly.
As for why he's still alive, honestly, it's professionalism. Fastjack and now Bull, Slammo, and Glitch. I mean, if somebody could do it and there would be no proof to it, somebody probably would. But Bull, Slammo, and Glitch would ban you for doing it. It's just kind of a standing rule for Jackpoint, as Jackpoint members aren't allowed to fuck with each other. And Clockwork,
except for the fact that they both fucked with each other.
well, they fuck with each other, but they can't. Had Clockwork ever done something?
Yes.
Yeah, he sold out.
No.
That cat. Yeah.
Well, I'm saying if he didn't really do, did he actually do something to her?
Yeah, he did. He sold her out. She was almost got by one of the MCT.
Okay, but he didn't do it himself. I mean, he didn't actually go after her personally. He was spying on Jack, and that got the admins after him.
Like, spied on each other, and like Rigor X was caught selling information about the about Jack Pointers to somebody at one point.
It's a tough one. It's a hard one. Clockwork pretty much exists to be our resident asshole, and to be the bad guy.
Then the reason that they keep him on is the fact that he does have a lot of intel, especially on technology and drones. He's actually hired by a number of the corporations to design their combat drones, specifically to deal with Shadowrunners. MCT hires him to help them design the drones that work their zero zones.
Yeah, but eventually Clockwork will get his.
Oh yeah, or he'll slip in the shower.
I don't know. Eventually Jason will let me kill off Bull. Eventually.
And then Jack B. Nimble will finally catch up to Bull, and Bull will be downloaded.
God damn it! That was actually my plan for the end of season 4. Was that Bull was going to die. Well, Bull is an orc, but Bull is a. We finally gave it a name. There was something that popped up that was mentioned in first edition a few times, where some goblinized orcs didn't age the same rate orcs did. They aged at human rates. Yeah. But so Bull is only in his 40s.
Close to 50.
Close to 50. Actually, 78. He's 50. Because he was 18 in 2050. So if it's 2078, yeah. No. I don't know. Math is hard.
He's close to 50. He's close to 50 in an industry that eats up lives.
Yes.
Always be afraid of old people that live in an
well, that's
industry
why. Well,
kills them.
to be fair, Bull was on a farm for a long time. Bull got out of it. Bull retired. He went on a farm. That's the only reason he's as old as he is. And he still keeps his head down for the most part.
Yeah, that's being a fixer as opposed to being a Shadowrunner.
Right.
You pay the other people to do the dangerous stuff.
Mm-hmm. Although that still doesn't help him from occasionally getting blown up and losing an arm.
Or being kidnapped by a black bag team and being made to play a really crappy version of his video game.
Yeah. Yeah, Torn, well, we've already killed one of Bull's kids. Poor Rebecca. So, it's fun to have characters that are that in depth, although, you know.
Which is why he needs a hug. Yes, Bull needs a hug.
But it's also why he occasionally gets called a Mary Sue, which is always makes me laugh.
I was amused when Dev Girl was called a Mary Sue.
I know.
I was like, for whom?
Well, let's face it, Aaron. We knew you always wanted to be a 16-year-old squirrel girl.
Isn't she like 20, 21 now?
Well, now. Actually, she's probably older than that now.
She was 15 or 16 when she started.
Something like that.
I
It might have
thought
been a
she was-
little. It might have been
I
a
thought
little
she
young.
was younger than that. I thought she was 13 when she was introduced.
No, she was definitely in high school.
Yeah, not having. Unfortunately, not having the wiki
Oh, but she'd
anymore.
be like
Oh,
23, 24.
If you have access to the wiki, like her birthday is on that.
We don't have the wiki's gone.
That sucks.
Yeah, nobody knows what happened to it, as far as we can tell. Jason tried tracking it down, and whoever had, I think it never transferred over from FanPro, and I think at some point somebody let it lapse.
I blame Clockwork.
So unfortunately, we lost all that stuff that was on the old wiki.
That's too bad.
Yeah, it is, because there was a lot of good information on there. Because there's a few characters that nobody knows who the hell they are anymore, really. There's a couple of characters that we only have the vaguest idea of who they are, because they didn't get used a whole lot. Oh, yeah, hey, everybody. It was never public, so the Wayback Machine would not help.
Yeah.
It was a private thing for the writers.
The website was behind a password. The wiki was behind a password.
Yeah.
The Wayback Machine was left out.
Yeah. So, yeah, hey, everybody, you get to listen to us talk about our behind the scenes.
The ancient history in... Oh, not the open one, no. There was a...
Yeah, it was
one for the freelancers and writers.
Yeah, it was to help us keep track of the characters and plots
everything.
and
I'm mildly irritated because I actually went through like every character and found all of their quotes and
I had spent a bit of time updating a bunch of stuff, especially when I started doing missions to get all the mission stuff in there, and so it kind of sucks to have lost all that.
Yep.
So, all right, so it's about a minute out, so I think we're going to go ahead and call it. Residents dive to find it. So, I'd like to thank everybody who showed up, all the audience members. Thank you for coming in. Thank you for asking questions. I appreciate it. Helped. Hopefully, you guys found this entertaining, and it was for those of you that weren't able to make Gen Con this year, this was something of an alternative. I'd like to thank all my panel guests. James and Aaron and Canray and Rat and Scott, who left a little bit ago.
Yeah, sorry, it took me so long to figure this out.
Oh, it's okay.
Also, that I forgot until 20 minutes ago that this was even going on.
I should have pinged you.
It's all right. I mean, I was barely home, so it's not like I was on my computer. I wouldn't have noticed.
Oh, okay.
But yeah. Anyway, next time.
All right. So thanks a lot, guys. I will post this on YouTube later on, so you can listen in, and if you guys came late or whatever, want to hear the stuff that came in early. But thank you guys. We'll be doing another one tomorrow night for convention experiences. I've got some guys that'll be talking that have run games at conventions, who have helped organize and actually put together conventions. I've got James Dawsey from Vigilance Press, who does the Tianxie role-playing game and has done some other stuff. So he runs a game company. He'll be there talking about exhibiting and stuff at conventions. So if you're interested in finding out some of the behind-the-scenes stuff about how convention works, how conventions work, or what going to a convention, especially big convention like Gencan't, is like, please come by tomorrow night at 8 o'clock, same time, same place, and we'll do another one of these. So thank you, everybody, and y'all have a good night.
Night.
Well,